Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Achua and I hope this video finds you well. If you are new to this place, please consider subscribing, and to all my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support and welcome back. I just want to share my few thoughts about niche fragrances in general, because for the most part I talk about a lot of dupes, and most of these dupes are cloning niche fragrances, and a few designer ones. I'm not here to discuss whether they are worth it or not. That is a different topic altogether. It's all about preferences, your pockets, which ones are available to you, what you are accustomed to, your taste, your money. It's a whole lot. And sometimes some of these niche fragrances are quite hard to come by depending on your location. So it depends on a whole lot, but I have absolutely no issue with niche fragrances. I love them. I have quite a few of them, just a few of them actually. In this video, I have about 10 or 12 fragrances, that I want to share my initial reaction about these fragrances, considering how some of them were hyped up, and when I got to sample them or test them, how I really felt about them, So one of the most hyped fragrances, in Fracom for the past, let's say, 3 years or so has been Annie by Nishane. I didn't know how it smelled until about a year ago when I tested it a couple of times, and I was like, okay, it's okay. It's good, Then I picked up Nasheti, which is like a very good dupe of Annie, just a lighter version that doesn't last as much as Annie does. But it's an okay scent to me, I know people are going to be offended by this, but this is just my personal opinion, I just felt like this is not a scent profile that is like super new, it's not a scent profile that is like super new. There are so many spicy vanilla green fragrances around, it's a good fragrance, Annie is an excellent fragrance. If I had the money, I would have purchased it, but I'm okay with this dupe, because this one is serving me right. But when I smelled Annie, for the first time, considering the hype and everything surrounding it, I was like, this smells, a little familiar, because I think, although I had not smelled like the exact same thing, I just felt like there are so many things which are quite in that family, in that Annie family, spicy, not necessarily ginger, but spicy, vanilla, green, a bit herbal, I just felt like that DNA was not super new, and I really didn't get the hype about Annie, but I mean, when it comes to niche fragrances in general, sometimes, I don't know, maybe we are so conditioned, to the point that we just feel like once they have been talked about so much, or they have been hyped so much, those are the be all, fragrances, I might be so wrong. I might be so wrong, but we all have different tastes, different, vibes and all those, but for me personally, I was not underwhelmed, I was not disappointed, but I wasn't really blown away by Annie, the OG Annie. I wasn't really blown away by it, I use this one, I love it, I'll highly recommend this, but the scent profile to me is not something like super unique, super new, super it's okay. It's not like okay, it's a great fragrance, but from where I'm coming from, it's not like I've smelled like thousands and thousands of fragrances, but I just felt like at least I have smelled some which, are quite different and quite different and much unique than Annie, So that is Annie or Nasheti by Lattafa for you. Before I even sampled Angel Share, I had picked up Camera by Lattafa, and people were like, oh, it's a 100% dupe, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know anything about it, so I was like, okay, that's it. If that's Angel Share, then let me just go with the flow, until I went to Sephora somewhere, and then tested it. And then I was like, okay, it wasn't what I was really expecting, because Camera is quite different, much more sweeter and, much more milder, as compared to Angel Share. So I was a little blown away, because it's actually a very good fragrance. My initial reaction to Angel Share was like, this is a very good, well blended, sophisticated fragrance. So I liked it from day one. And when I was able to compare it to Camera, I knew it wasn't like an exact dupe until I got Kismet Angel, and I knew it was like 95–96%, accurate dupe of Angel Share. But in that moment, I also felt like this fragrance was too boozy. You know, when I initially tested Angel Share, I just felt it was too strong and too boozy for me personally as a female. You know, I thought it would suit better a man, you know, and that has been my thought about the original Angel Share. Whereas with Camera and even Kismet Angel, the booziness is a little toned down than the OG, you know. So for me, I think Angel Share deserves all the hype that it has. I would, you know, if I got opportunity to own a bottle, I would definitely own a bottle. Then I will move to a fragrance like Grand Soir by MFK. Up to this day, I have not sampled that particular fragrance, you know, but there's a lot of hype about it, and people claim Eternal Oud by Lattafa is a good or accurate dupe of it. So my initial reaction to this one was not like a very strong, like, you know, I was a little underwhelmed, you know. After smelling this one, I was like, is that how Grand Soir smells like? You know, is that all the hype about Grand Soir? Is it just the amber and the vanilla and the plum, you know, the sweetness? Is this all about it? You know, I didn't really see anything too, you know, amazing or overly surprising or overly. I felt like it didn't deserve the hype, you know, Grand Soir, you know. To this day, if honestly this is how exactly it smells like, I am just a little underwhelmed, in the sense that it's not like I don't like this fragrance at all. Whatever this one is a great fragrance. But for a Grand Soir, the hype that it had, or it still have, you know, and people praising it, you know, as a very sophisticated, you know, out of this world fragrance that you need to have in your collection, blah, blah, blah. And when I came across Eternal Oud and people, you know, claim it's like an accurate dupe, I was a little underwhelmed, you know. I wasn't really blown away. It was not even until about 2-3 months ago that I really started delving into this particular dupe that I have, you know. And it's not a bad fragrance at all. I will not, you know, discredit Grand Soir, the OG, or even this one. I will not discredit it at all. But for the hype that it had, or it still has, I was a little underwhelmed with the whole everything. I was a little underwhelmed because I was expecting something more, you know, something more. And I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's just me, but for some reason I was a little underwhelmed. But this one is honestly not a bad fragrance at all. So I'll personally recommend this one, you know, all day. I'll recommend it. I use it myself. I love the scent profile. But as a Grand Soir, or if that is how Grand Soir smell, or my initial reaction about this fragrance was not like totally blown away, you know. So that is what I have about Eternal Oud. Before I got Handsome Gold, I had not sampled Oriana from MFK before, you know. I think I had come across Love Don't Be Shy just once, you know, and it wasn't, to me at that point, it wasn't so memorable for me to really remember how exactly it smelled. It was just a one-time testing that I did, you know. So when I got Handsome Gold and I smelled it for the first time, instantly I liked it, you know. I was like, this is quite different, you know, because at that point I didn't have anything in my collection that smelled like Handsome Gold, you know. And I think later on I picked Reina by Alhambra, which to me I much prefer because it has something a little brighter, you know, about it. So that particular fragrance blew me away in a very positive way, you know. I sort of loved it from day one. It was quite different to me. It's deserved the hype, you know. Oriana, Love Don't Be Shy, deserved the hype that it has, or it had. So Handsome Gold sort of, you know, impressed me when it comes to a niche fragrance, you know. And I still enjoy that fragrance. I still love it. I still will recommend it. So that is Handsome Gold for you. Recently, I picked up Liam Grey by Lattafa, which is known to be a dupe of Grey Chanel. And before my order arrived, I had already received my sample of Grey Chanel, you know, so I knew what it was, how it smells, you know. And when I first tested Grey Chanel, honestly, I was a bit underwhelmed. I was like, okay, considering every single thing that all the 8 girls, you know, had said about Grey Chanel and how sophisticated and luxurious and, you know, all that zhuzh, I was expecting much more. I was honestly expecting so much more from Grey Chanel. And when I received it and I tested it, I was like, okay, it's okay, you know. And then my Liam Gray came. I was able to really douse myself in it, and to me it's such an accurate dupe. You know, Lattafa has done a phenomenal job with Liam Gray, so I'm thankful to them for that, you know. Gris Chanel honestly didn't really overwhelm me, you know, like didn't really impress me as much as I thought it would. You know, it's not like it's a bad scent at all. It's an excellent fragrance. It serves a purpose, you know. It's not every fragrance that needs to be out there, loud, you know, see me before you smell me, or smell me before you see me. And I appreciate such fragrances for that. But for the scent profile, I wasn't expecting that, you know. I wasn't expecting that. To me, I felt like I was expecting something quite more, you know, so I was a bit underwhelmed by the OG Gris Chanel, you know. But once I got my Liam Gray, I was able to douse myself. I enjoy the scent profile. I recommend that scent. It's an excellent dupe. But as a scent on its own, considering the hype around Gris Chanel, I don't know. I don't really know. As the It Girl scent, luxury, I was like a bit underwhelmed, you know, by the whole thing, you know. But I mean, to each their own. People have preferences, different tastes. We all gravitate towards different things. So I understand people who hype up, you know, fragrances and all those. But for me personally, the OG really didn't wow me that much, although I enjoy that fragrance, and I would highly also recommend the OG and the dupe. To this day, I have not sampled Zejov's Dama Bianca, and I know Junon Noir is supposed to be a dupe of Dama Bianca. I have that fragrance. I picked it up about a month or two ago, and my first reaction to that fragrance was like, wow. I was actually pleasantly surprised by how different that fragrance, you know, actually is from so many other fragrances I have come across, you know. And that is what I expect from these niche brands or niche fragrances, you know, because people are paying hundreds, you know, of dollars to acquire these bottles. So at least give them something different, something quite unique, something quite worth it. So my first impression about Junon Noir was like, wow. I was really pleasantly surprised by how lovely it was, and not too loud, you know. It has this very it has this sophistication and elegance about it, you know, very womanly, very feminine, and very different and unique, you know, because of that kumquat, you know, which maybe because kumquat is new to me, and that's why I'm enjoying the scent profile. I feel it's quite unique. But until I acquired Junon Noir, I had not come across anything in that scent profile, you know. It was recently that I picked something else that I feel, you know, is quite similar, but not the same, you know. But Junon Noir impressed me. So if that is how Dama Bianca by Zejov smells, I think then it deserves all the hype, you know. That house, I know, is a very well-loved house because of the quality of their fragrances, and even the dupe, which is Junon Noir, it has this quality, you know, that is unmatched. So for that, I'll give it to it, you know. If that is how, or I know most of the time, there's no way, you know, it's not even like most of the time, in almost all scenarios, there's no way that the dupe, you know, is better than the original, you know. Sometimes some of these dupe houses just put their own twist on it and make it a little different, you know, and people may prefer that twist that the dupe houses, you know, put in those original versions, you know. But it doesn't mean, to me, it doesn't mean, you cannot take away an OG version. You cannot take the originality. You cannot, you know, say, you cannot say anything negative about an OG version or an OG fragrance, because it is from that fragrance that, you know, all the dupes came from. So no matter how good a dupe is, I will always give the credit to the OG, you know, regardless, you know, regardless how good a dupe is. So that is Junon Noir. I love that fragrance, and I'll highly recommend that. So Ich I'll Show You Gold by Lattafa. So this day I have not tested Rosendo Maton number 5, but the first time I sprayed Ich I'll Show You Gold, I was like, wow, it was different. I had Lattafa's Al Noble series Amir. I had it, you know, already in my collection, and when I got Ich I'll Show You, you know, I realized they were quite similar, but that one, you know, it's much more potent. Ich is much more potent, much more, it gets that much more of that. It has much more strength. There is something much more sophisticated and better about it than Amir Al Noble from Lattafa. They're all from Lattafa. And when I smelled that fragrance for the first time, I was immediately blown away. I was like, yes, that is how a niche fragrance is supposed to smell. It's supposed to give you something different. It's supposed not to be any generic everyday something that you can get for around $50-$60, you know. And that is how I felt about Ish Al Shuk, you know. If that is how the original smells, and I know it's going to be better than even Ish, then it is one that I would highly recommend, you know. I think it's one of the unique fragrances that I have come across, you know, in my fragrance journey. It's different. It's not like a lot of fragrances on the market. The scent profile is very sort of mysterious, a little dark, very sensual, very sexy. And to me, you know, it's one of those unique fragrances that as soon as you walk into a room, someone will notice that someone, you know, has walked in with something different. So I'll give it to Ish Al Shuk, you know, when it comes to being a very unique fragrance, or a very unique fragrance. I would like to talk about Shaina Exclusive by Fragrance World, which is obviously a dupe for Shaina Exclusive. That was like my first time smelling rhubarb, lychee, incense combo, or even lychee and rhubarb in general, that, you know, that kind of, you know, scent profile. It was very new to me. I didn't have anything that smelled like that, so it felt different to me, and I was super impressed by Shaina Exclusive. Obviously, I don't think there is anything on the market as a dupe that is going to replace that particular fragrance, you know, or those two fragrances, Shaina and the Shaina Exclusive. But Shaina, I know, is a very, you know, an excellent one. To me, it's about 90%, you know, give or take, about 90% similar to that fragrance. But I was super impressed when I initially smelled Shaina. It was quite different, very lovely, because that was the first time I was smelling lychee rhubarb, you know, that whole combination. It was new to me, so I loved it, and till this day I still love that fragrance. You know, I think with time and with maceration, I'm getting much more of that incense and the oud in it, you know, which a lot of people might not, you know, might miss in Shaina Exclusive. There's oud in it, but it's not like too obvious and in your face. So I'm beginning to appreciate those notes in Shaina Exclusive as well. But that was like super new to me. I was somehow blown away. I was like, I'm impressed, you know. If that is all the hype about Shaina, I was impressed at that point, and to this day I still love that fragrance. The next one following Shaina Exclusive is Infin Rose by Alhambra. Before I smelled Infin Rose, I had come across Amethyst by Lattafa, and before Lattafa's Amethyst, I had not smelled Atomic Rose, you know. I had not smelled Atomic Rose at that point. It was in, you know, when after acquiring Amethyst, a few months later, I was able to smell Atomic Rose, you know, quite a few times before I got Infin Rose by Alhambra. So when I got Infin Rose, you know, immediately it struck me as an accurate dupe of the original version, you know, which I loved from day one. As soon as I smelled Atomic Rose, I knew it was something special, you know. I knew it was something special. It was like a very polished, well blended, you know, rose scent with that bright bergamot, you know, and I get all those in Alhambra's version, you know. I was blown away by that fragrance. I was like, I fell in love with that fragrance, you know. I knew the hype was real, the hype was worth it when it comes to the original version. But to me, Infin Rose has replaced that for me, you know. I would pick that anytime. I will not pick it over the OG, you know, not at all. Not if someone comes to dash me the OG right now, I will take it wholeheartedly. But I mean, Infin Rose has done a great job. So that particular scent profile, although it wasn't super unique or super new to me, I fell in love with it immediately. And to me, it is worth the hype, or it's still worth the hype that it has. So if you have the coin for Atomic Rose, I would highly recommend. Why not? I mean, why not? That leads me to Infin Max by Alhambra, which is quite a new addition to my collection, and it's supposed to be a dupe for Max Therapy. I heard about Max Therapy, you know, I had it hyped some few years ago, about a year or two. All the it girls were like, you know, Max Therapy, very sensual, cozy. When I got my Infin Mask, you know, I think I got Zimaya, which is a different story altogether, you know. So when I initially got my Infin Max and I smelt it, honestly, I was a bit underwhelmed. I was like, is that all the hype about Max Therapy, the one that is supposed to be this sensual, you know, captivating, cozy, warm feel, give you a hug? I was a bit underwhelmed, you know, because I was expecting more. I was expecting something much more richer, something much more creamier, much more musky. but I didn't get that, you know. I didn't get that. And I was like, well, it is not a bad scent at all. It is not a bad scent at all. Then I got the original, you know, later I got the original, a sample of it, you know, and I was able to test them side by side, which to me is a very accurate, it's not 100%, you know. I guess for like the Alhambra's version feels a little lighter than the OG, but the OG itself was like a little underwhelming for me, considering it's not like it's a bad scent, but considering the hype and how it was portrayed to be this very sultry, cozy, warm, which it still is, you know. I was expecting something a little more from Max Therapy, and I didn't really get exactly what I was expecting, you know, so I was a bit underwhelmed. And the Alhambra version is not a bad dupe at all. I enjoy it, especially for bedtime, but it's not something I see myself wearing when I'm like going out. I want to make an impression. I want to really, you know, put myself out there. That is not what I would be gravitating or pulling out. I would rather go for something maybe like the Infin Rose, which is quite loud, you know. But the OG version, the dupe, a little underwhelming, although very beautiful, simple bedtime scent to me. The last fragrance I would like to talk about is Amouage Guidance. I don't have an accurate dupe yet, but I have a sample of the OG version, and that to me is a niche fragrance. That, you know, it has all the qualities of a niche fragrance. I wish I could, you know, I wish maybe a house would be able to bring up an accurate dupe, you know. Till this day I haven't come across any accurate dupe. I reviewed one earlier, which is Mouche Garden, and there is nothing similar. It doesn't have any quality of Guidance. Guidance in itself as a niche fragrance is an excellent fragrance. You know, as soon as I smelled it, I felt like, you know, it gave me niche quality from like from Jumpstart. It was like, this is how niche is done. Unique, different, potent, powerful, masterful, a masterpiece. You know, it gave me everything that a niche is supposed to represent, and that is Guidance by Amouage. If you have the money for it, you know, I will 100% say go for it, because it doesn't give you the everyday generic, you know, designer, or even some of the generic fragrances that some niche fragrances, you know, bring out. That is very different. You know, the hazelnut creaming, that akigala wood, you know, the vanilla, the pear, you know, very realistic. Even that small decant I have, you know, as soon as you just sprinkle a little on you, it lasts you for hours. So I'm just imagining how it is going to be if you have a full bottle and you're spraying, you know, sparingly, or you're spraying liberally. That is an excellent, and that is my interpretation of niche. You know, Amouage, everybody knows, it's an excellent brand. You cannot go wrong. The prices are quite out there, but if you have the money for it, I think it deserves the hype that it gets. You know, I would highly recommend Guidance or anything, or I mean, it depends on your taste, your preference, and all. If you find something in the Amouage, you know, range that you love, why not? You know, because from the few Amouage fragrances I have tested so far, I really am impressed by them, you know, so there's no way I can complain. So that is, I think 10 of 11 fragrances I have for you today. I'll be bringing you updates about other niche fragrances I have been able to smell, my initial reaction about them, and how I feel about them and their dupes. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. I'll also like to know what you think about some of these fragrances, you know, in the comment section. Just let us be interactive. Let me know how you feel about some of these, whether the OG version, the dupes. How did you really feel about them when you initially sprayed them, and you felt like, is that all these fragrances are about? For me, that is how I felt about some of them, but others, I guess, deserve the hype, the money that they are charging. You know, they deserve all those things, but not all of them. So let me know what you think about some of these fragrances in the comment section. I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.